So now that you watched the first video of the Chess960 series, where we learned the rules and got a bit of history about the game, if you haven't, you can watch it here, or click the link in the description. How about some tips and tricks to help you become the next Fisher Random World Champ? All that and more coming up in this episode of Chess960. What up though, my name is Jared and welcome to the Jared Show Chess Variants series. In this episode we're going to be going over 5 tips and tricks to help you improve your Fisher Random aka Chess960 gameplay. And at the end of the video is also 2 bonus do nots. Donuts? What? I didn't say donuts, I said do nots. 2 things to make sure to avoid, so stick around for those. But before we begin, I'd like to invite you, yes you, to come join in the fun on twitch.tv where I stream Monday through Friday. I play viewers, we play chess tournaments, we play different variants. There's also podcasts, live music, and much more. So drop by, have some fun. Within the community we have on Twitch, there's also some pretty high-level chess players. So I asked the peoples what are some of their strategies when playing Chess960. And you guys came up with some good ones. They came up with some good ones. Some I already knew, some I didn't. And I like to give credit where credit is due. So without further ado, here are 5 tips and tricks to help you improve in Chess960. Tip number 5 is to play in live 960 instead of going to the variant section. I actually found this out just by wanting to play and waiting to play a game. There's actually a few good reasons to do this. The first one is obvious. It's easier to get a game going. In the variant section, it can be hard to get a game of 960. But if you're in live chess and you click here, you can see it on the screen, and change it to 960, it really shouldn't take long to get a game going. Another great reason is because of the timer, or the time countdown. When you play in the variant section, your time is much shorter. It's around 15 seconds. And your time will count down without a timer. And as soon as that timer hits 0, without you knowing, the game will just be canceled. And the timer actually brings us to reason number 4, why you should use a timer, and use the timer in live 960. So for tip number 4, a Twitch viewer by the name of Chinggis Khan, an interesting name, I know people on Twitch get pretty creative with their usernames, very interesting. Anyway, Chinggis Khan suggested this. Take your time at the start of the game to look at what pieces will be the strongest. Play to make that piece as strong as possible. While I agree with that, and have both given that advice and used this advice, I might sum it up a little bit different with a little bit of subtle changes. I'd say it like this. Quickly evaluate your back rank pieces in order to know what pawns to push. As we learned in the first episode of this Chess960 series, your back rank pieces are going to be jumbled up. Your rooks, your bishops, your knights, and the king and queen are going to be in one of 960 combinations. So as soon as you see the game, start evaluating your position and where your pieces are on the back rank. In live 960, you actually have a timer that runs down for about a minute. You want to take some of that time, let's say maybe 20 or 30 seconds, to evaluate your pieces and decide what pawns to push, what knights to move. Making the transition from classical chess with standard openings to Fisher Random, aka 960, is all about quickly figuring out a strategy and using tactics to get there. Remember, the game is designed to eliminate openings and jump right into the middle game. So as soon as you see the board, evaluate it as if it is the middle game. Use your time wisely and try to see where things are and where you might like to castle. Look at where your bishops are, where they're lined up to go, where your knights are, and what they might want to fork or protect. Tip number 3, a Twitch viewer by the name of Turkey Gamers suggested, and I'd have to say not only do I agree, I've actually used this idea a lot, as we shall soon see. I've added just a little bit to it. The idea is simple. open your bishops with pawn moves and or get your knight out of the way. In this game, we see moving the pawn out of the way as well as the rook to get a unique position rather quickly. Once castled, the rooks are lined up and it's up to the queen side to get into fighting position. Here we see the queen is lined up to take on g7 and start causing some trouble almost immediately. But the pawn is in the way. Since white starts the game, simply removing the blocking piece and just see what your opponent does. Maybe you'll end up getting the pawn on g7 and start causing some trouble. In this example, we see the idea of getting the knights out of the way while looking to castle, then moving the pawns in front of the bishops and queen to start attacking kingside. As you evaluate your starting position, decide how active your pieces are and how hard it will be to get your heavy hitters, your queen, your rook, these heavy hitters active and working together. Tip 2 comes from some good advice a Twitch viewer going by the username of Donner, as I call him John, typed in the chat box. It's to focus on your development. A good idea which will yield great results and allow you to calmly get going in the game if you don't see immediate attacking plans. In this example, we see a rather simple idea, starting with the knight and getting into a somewhat familiar position if you play King's Indian defense. As the queen is lined up on the diagonal, putting the knight out while using the bishop as the defender allows black to get to a somewhat familiar defense. And here we see the idea of moving the pawn in front of the bishop to attack the rook in the corner. Then pushing the pawn in front of the king to get the other bishop involved with ideas of castling a side. The opponent defends, the bishop comes out, and we have bishop takes the weak pawn on h7. I castle, and an ill-advised bishop sack from my opponent. Now it's ill-advised because black is gaining space in the middle while also developing and gaining more space until a bishop trade on a3. While the attack is not exactly clear, it's just basic development waiting to see what white will do. And at number 1, a simple yet effective way of getting better at Chess960 is to play puzzles. On the twitch.tv live stream, we do puzzles as a warm-up before we play. And I do mean we, as I play viewers all the time. You can stop by the stream if you'd like to play. Again, the link is in the description. As we see in this game, going for the gold may not always be the way to go. Here I started with a good solid opening, getting my king castled and developing, but my tactics are just off. And while I'm trying to attack the king, white is lining up checkmate. If you do a lot of puzzles, and you should, you'll probably know the first 3 things you look for: checks, captures, and threats. Most puzzles are designed to get you to attack, even in the face of a checkmate. Doing puzzles, you see a lot of mate in 1s, mate in 2s, sometimes mate in 3 or 4, but you'll also see puzzles designed to get you to do what's called remove the defender, as my opponent does here. A mate by the queen on h7 was always the idea here, and strategy mixed with the right tactics is what made it happen. Because Chess960 starts you off with a jumbled up back rank and forces you to think of it as if you were in the middle game, being good at tactics as well as strategy is a must. So do some puzzles. It will help, I promise. And this brings us to the do nots. Not donuts, the do nots. The first do not is do not get too aggressive in Chess960.
Be aggressive. Be aggressive.
Don't listen to the cheerleaders. Listen to the coach, right? Twitch viewer Donner, or John as I say, nailed it with this message in the chat box. Don't be aggressive and focus on development. In this example, we see being just that, too aggressive and really just getting overextended. By the way, keep an eye on this queen in the corner. it's interesting how this goes. Starting off, I did a bit of a brain slip. I meant to move the knight to g6 and not the pawn, but I quickly got over it, as you do. So I moved the pawn out of the way for the bishop on g, while I in the middle of the board and looking to castle. As the game progressed, white connected 4 pawns in the middle, but became overextended. And as we battled queenside, the middle started to open up, especially after the bishop gets traded for the rook. We trade knights, and the queen smells blood, takes the pawn, and it's all over but the shouting. And finally, on move 22, white's neglected queen moves out of the corner onto maybe the worst square possible. Because the fork comes, white's queen goes down, and it's just cleaning the plate with forks by my queen. And our last tip or trick, and the other do not, is do not always castle, or do not castle without thinking about where your pieces are going to end up. In this game, we see white's queen is coming at me hard, looking to take on b7 and cause trouble. After moving the pawn out the block, I pretty much weathered the storm, even backed the queen up, and I felt like from there I was safe. But I castled on the wrong side, and my king was much more vulnerable than if I'd castled h side. Gotta be a little bit more patient, castle h side on this one. As the game progressed, I tried to put up a fight and move pieces over to defend, but if white had played this correctly, instead of a Botez gambit, and taking my queen on f7, I would have lost this, and probably should have lost this game. Again, tactics, strategy, and awareness make a big difference in chess. So to recap, tip 5 is play in live 960, not in the variant section. Tip 4, take your time at the start. Evaluate your back rank and come with a plan if you can. Tip 3, move those pawns out of the way of your bishop to start attacking, or move your knight out of the way to castle just a little bit faster. Tip 2, if you don't see a plan as soon as the game starts, just start developing your pieces. Try to castle as fast as possible. And tip 1, quit being lazy or too cool for school and do some puzzles, will you? There are plenty of places to do free puzzles, chess puzzles on the internet. If you don't know where, there's some links in the description to help you out. Or you know what, just sign up for membership on chess.com. It's only $5 a month, and it will help you out so much. By the way, I am not sponsored by chess.com, but I'd like to be. So yeah, what up chess.com? Let me know something. What up? Yeah. And if your girlfriend's name is Leela, that's a chess engine or computer, by the way, and you skip to the end of this video, I hate to break it to you, but cheaters never win and winners never cheat. And you missed the 2 do nots. It's cool though, you can go back and find them in the chapters you start fishing using mother. But don't cheat. Watch the video and play Chess960, it's fun. And that's going to do it for this episode of Chess Variants. I hope you enjoyed it. If you haven't already, go ahead and subscribe to the YouTube channel faster than a forking knight. And hit the like button quicker than a hyper bullet turning, huh? Don't forget to check out The Jared Show on twitch.tv. And as always, and in always, may God bless you. Thanks for watching.